can't inject your way into wholeness. Inner healing is the real glow up. So I've watched women sit in my treatment chair, gorgeous, dialed in, skin glowing, the kind of face that people stop and stare at, and then still tell me they don't feel like themselves. And in aesthetics, a lot of what we do is fix the outside. But over the course of this year, I'm learning a lot of the outside was never the problem. Welcome back to the Empress Unfiltered. If you're new here, I'm Erica. I'm a board certified nurse practitioner, co-founder of the Empress LA, and the woman who will I'm gonna share the raw truth, the unfiltered, the parts that nobody wants to say out loud, even including the parts about myself. So last episode, we sat down and we talked about imposter syndrome, the voice in your head that goes, "Who do you think you are?" And I got a lot of DMs about that. I got a lot of messages. So I want to keep pulling on that thread because imposter syndrome isn't a confidence problem. It's a healing problem. Like I said, I work in aesthetics. I love what I do. I believe in what I do. The talks, the filler, the lasers, the GLPs, the hormone work. I've seen these treatments give people their spark back. And that's real. And like I said, I'm not here to talk negatively about my profession because I love what I do. But what I've realized is it's never you'll fix the outside and then the inside will follow. Those two go hand in hand. It doesn't go outside then inside. It never goes that direction. Because you can have the best skin of your life and still flinch when somebody gives you a compliment. You can drop the weight and still not be able to look in the mirror without doing the math on what else needs fixing or what is wrong. I can smooth the lines on your forehead, but I cannot smooth the thing that put them there in the first place, that put that tension there in the first place. The outside, well, that's the easy part. That's the fast part, the inner work. That's the one that doesn't have a before and after photo. There's no 30-day result for that. There's no package of three, 6, or 8. And this is exactly why a lot of people avoid it. And I'll give you the moment where I changed how I saw everything that we do. A woman came in for follow up. She looked incredible. Results were chef's kiss. And she teared up in my chair. And not because she was unhappy with the work, but because she said, I thought I'd feel different by now. And I mean, the outside was beautiful, yet the pain was in here. And that's not a failure of the treatment. The treatment did exactly what it was supposed to. But if I realized anything, it's that if the inner work needs to be done, it doesn't matter what outside treatment you'll do. When the work that needs to be done is things for your soul. And inner healing isn't soft. It's part of infrastructure. And I want to reframe what even inner healing even means. Because with the internet, I mean, if you look online for wellness, like people have turned this into a candle and a journal prompt. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of high functioning people dismiss it. Inner healing is nervous system work. It's looking at stuff that you've been outrunning with productivity. It's the difference between someone who performs and someone who is actually okay. And for those of us that are building things like businesses, brands, practices, inner healing isn't optional, it's infrastructure. Because if you're unhealed as a business owner, and I know because I've lived every one of these, you are going to over deliver and undercharge because deep down you don't believe you're worth that number. You're going to struggle to take a day off because rest feels like proof that you're lazy. You're going to attract patients or chaos or partners who drain you because chaos feels like home. And you're going to hit your goal and feel nothing, just immediately reach for the next one that you don't have to sit still. So I'm going to now explain like real examples to this because it's easy to just give you a laundry list. but never once apply those to yourself. So the undercharging one, yes, I did injectables and did under the market pricing because I thought that I was being acceptable. And I was scared to charge what I was actually worth. It stems back to that imposter syndrome, that what if people didn't actually think I was worth that? And the number on the menu was a confession of how I actually felt about myself. And the no one, like not taking the days off, like I worked through being sick, I worked through grief, and I worked through days that I probably would have done my nervous system so much better to stay home. But somewhere inside of me, resting equaled worthlessness. And that's there's chaos assigned to that one, but chaos is the sneakiest of them all. I used to mistake drama for passion, a chaotic patient, a messy partnership, a fire that needed to be put out every morning. And it felt like aliveness, and it wasn't. It was my unregulated nervous system attributing chaos to familiarity because calmness felt boring and calm felt unsafe. And what I've realized is you can't out strategize wounds. I know because I tried to do that for a year and a half. And the Empress isn't a costume that you put on, it's who I became after I started doing the work underneath. The, and the brand is unfiltered because this is who I finally am. So, like I said, I'm going to give you the real version, not just the highlight reel. So, over the course of this year, well, it finally has come to an end. But I went through the last couple years. I've gone through a very gnarly divorce, and I did what a lot of us do. I'm like, I'm gonna be professional about it. I'm gonna keep it out of the treatment room, out of the brand, out of my face. I'm gonna walk in full Empress mode, be on. And so that nobody would know that prior to coming here, like I spent my morning like crying, getting ready, and then having to fix my face in the car again. And I told myself that this was strength, compartmentalizing, holding it together for business, for my patients. And I realized that this isn't strength. This was burying. And here's the thing about burying something. It doesn't stay buried. It leaks. It comes out as exhaustion. And when I would leave here, caregiver fatigue and how thin my patients got. In treatments where I was physically present, but energetically like and mentally like a million miles away. And I'm sure like my patients couldn't name it, but they could feel it because energy doesn't lie. And the turning point of this came almost on accident. I had a patient in my chair, someone who I had seen for a while. She was going through her own hard thing. And she said something like, "You seem like you have it all together. I'm sure you can't relate." And before I could even stop myself, I said, "Yeah, I actually can. I'm in the middle of a divorce right now." And then I braced for it for the unprofessional. I was like, should I have said that? Was that too much? Was I oversharing? And in fact, it was the opposite. The energy in the room shifted. She was more relaxed. She exhaled. She like exhaled. And you could tell like she saw me as a human. And we had a very real conversation. And she's honestly been one of my most loyal patients since. And that's in that moment, it was when it kind of clicked. My patients were never coming to see me because I was perfect. And having it or being like I had it all together, it's not building trust. The moment that the pain became visible, I became somebody to my patients that they could actually trust me with theirs. So I stopped hiding it, and not in a trauma dumping way. I'm not here to make my patients carry my grief. That's not the job. But I stopped pretending I was above the human experience. And I let myself be the woman who does the work and at the same time living a life that sometimes breaks deep. And I mean, I've been through quite a few things, and I now like I'm talk about it openly instead of burying it. And I truly believe it's one of the things that's made me better at what I do. It's made me more present, more honest, more me. And the Empress got more powerful the moment she got more human. And it wasn't just my personal life that I like buried. It was my numbers too initially when I started. Like I said, came in with very rose-colored glasses. So like I said, I'm going to be honest with you because this is the part that a lot of business owners never post or talk about. I made so many financial mistakes when I opened, real ones. I spent money on things that didn't return on investment. I trusted the wrong people. And I had months where I looked at my account and felt a wave of shame that crawled up my neck. The kind that makes you want to like close your laptop and pretend you didn't just see that. And for a while, that's exactly what I did. I hid from my own finances the same way I tried to bury the feelings from my divorce. If I didn't look at it, it wasn't real. If I didn't say it out loud, maybe nobody would know that like the Empress had cracks in her foundation. But here's what I know a year later, and I still got a lot of learning to do. But mistakes don't define who you are. What defines me is the fact that I kept going, that I looked at the numbers that I was scared of, that I learned what they were trying to teach me, that I adjusted, that I'm still here, that I'm still building, that I'm still going. And I'm running this thing today because of every one of those mistakes, not in spite of them. And I talk to my patients about this now, not in a let me trauma dump you, my profit and loss statement, but when a when someone tells you something and or a patient tells you that they're scared of doing something or they're scared of what other people might think and they don't hand you the polished version, I tell those patients the truth. I've failed, I've lost money, I've been embarrassed, I've made mistakes, and I'm still standing and I'm still growing and I'm still hitting my goals. And this is going to being transparent is going to do more for your patient than anything else you can do. I've realized that my vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. And my authenticity is also a strength. And the willingness to say, I got that wrong and I learned from it is definitely a strength. Being flat, being 100% polished, being untouchable, that's not how you relate to people. No one ever felt less alone standing next to somebody who acted like they had it all figured out. People exhale when you're real. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole brand. That's the whole point. And why does this matter, especially in wellness and aesthetics, is there's a specific responsibility here that I take really seriously. When you're holding a needle or a laser or prescribing hormones, you're sitting in an incredibly intimate space with another human being. They're handing you their insecurity, their hopes, sometimes even their grief. And if you're not regulated, your patients are going to feel that because energy doesn't lie. You can't pour calm into a room you don't have within yourself. So, inner healing in this field is so important. You can't be a vessel for somebody else's transformation while you're falling apart behind the desk. Your healing is a professional asset, and I mean that literally. And and for your patient, the goal is to never chase a face. The goal is to help your patients feel at home in the ones that they have. It's to give them a more radiant version of themselves. The treatments are a tool, but the wholeness is a point, is the whole point. And if all we ever do is focus on the outside, then we're just feeding that same machine that made people feel broken to begin with. And I refuse to do that in my business. So, what does that look like? I'll have people come into my space and I'll turn them away. I've had clients who or patients come in and point out 5 different things they want to fix. And what I'm actually hearing when I talk to them is, oh, I just went through a breakup. Oh, I'm turning 40 and I'm scared. And as a provider, you need to be able, one of the strongest things you can do is say no. And when you've done the inner work, you'll understand the difference between treating someone who genuinely wants the treatment or having somebody sit in your chair who's trying to outrun a feeling. And like I said, one of the most powerful things you can probably do is put your syringe down and say, I could do this, but I don't think it's going to make you feel the way you are hoping to feel. And let's talk about what's actually going on. And that conversation never shows up in my books, but it's the entire reason why people trust me with the treatments that they do. And that's not only on the patient side, it's also how you lead. When you're unhealed and you're running on fumes, you're going to hold on to everything too tightly because you're not going to trust that anyone can carry it the way you will. And when I first started this, I would people around me, I would stress, I would snap, I would over apologize, I would avoid hard conversations until they curled into resentment. And I'm sure those around me felt my unregulated nervous system, whether I said anything about it or not. And here's what nobody will actually tell you. When you're starting anything, a business, and you're only your business is only going to be as healthy as you are. Your team is going to inherit your patterns. If you're a martyr, you're going to build a martyr culture. And if you can't receive help, you'll hire good people and then refuse to let them actually work. The business becomes a mirror. It reflects your unhealed places right back to you. So when I say inner healing is an infrastructure, I mean it. It touches on everything. The prices you set, the patients that you say yes to, the people that you bring on as part of your team, and whether or not you let them help you grow, and the version of you that walks through the door every morning. You are a ceiling of your business until you do the work to raise it. So, as you know, like many of you know, I'm spiritual. I work with astrology. I pay attention to transits. I love tarot. I do all the things. And I believe we move through energy, whether we acknowledge that or not. But I want to be really clear, especially as somebody who's spiritual. Inner healing is not spiritual bypassing. It's not slapping everything happens for a reason on top of pain and refusing to feel. It's not using the moon as an excuse to never go to therapy. Real healing, inner healing, is willing to get into the dirt of things, those uncomfortable healed wounds. And for me, it looked like a combination. And I think that's the honest answer for most people. For me, therapy is beyond important. And this taught me boundaries. It taught this last year has taught me stillness, which I'm still working on. I can still sometimes be genuinely bad at that. But inner healing is truly a key to your growth and success. And and I know this because I mean, quite like I said, I've been through a lot. In 2024, I lost my dad. And if you've lost somebody, you know that what I'm about to say, there's no finish line to healing. Nobody hands you a certificate that says you're done grieving. Healing is not linear. It does not go in a straight line. It's not you're broken, then you're all of a sudden better. Some days I'm completely fine, and then a song plays, or I'll go reach for my phone because I just want to call him out of habit. And then you're sitting right back in all those feelings. And there's not a single day that goes by that I don't think about him and I don't miss him. But for a long time, I thought that I was failing, that meant I was failing in my own healing. Like if I'm still hurting, I must be doing something wrong. And I wasn't doing it wrong. That's just what love feels like when it's still very present. It means somebody had a huge impact on you. And now here's where I've landed. I don't see his death at the end, like the end of his life. I see him as a spiritual guide now. His photo hangs up on my wall behind my checkout desk. So every patient who comes through, whether they notice it or not, walks past that photo. He's in the room. He's part of my business. He's part of who the Empress is because he is a part of me. So when I talk about inner healing and talking about getting over things, I'm talking about learning to carry them differently with more grace, less pretending, Grief didn't make me less able to hold space for other people. It made me more able to, because now I actually know what deep weight feels like. And the last part, that happens in the body, underneath the words. And this is where I'm focusing on next. So here's what I've learned the hard way. My mind is probably the last place my healing actually lands. I can understand something intellectually for years and still hold it on my shoulders, on my jaw, in my chest. So I've been exploring tools that get underneath the noise, the ones that work with the body, the nervous system directly, breath work, stillness. So I want you to do some homework with me, which brings me to this week's challenge. I want you to focus on what you've been avoiding or something that needs healing. I I think that's incredibly important. And this is the question that I want you to sit with, and you don't have to answer it fast. But what is it that you have been trying to fix on the outside that actually lives in the inside? And you can write that in your notes, on your voice memo to yourself, and DM it to me if you're brave. I read every single DM. And then notice where in your body you feel that when you ask that question. Where does it tense? That's not random, that's a map. And if you're sitting there going, okay, Erica, I feel a bit called out, where do I even start? I'm not going to leave you with just a question and a vibe. Like, start small, pick one. You don't need a whole healing journey done by Friday. But one thing I've noticed is the place where you perform the hardest, ask yourself what you're afraid people would see if you stopped. And then two, find a person, a therapist, a friend, somebody, and tell them the true version of what you're doing. Not the, uh, tell them the true version of how you're doing, not the I'm good, just busy, you know me version. And then build 5 minutes of stillness into your day. And just focus on whatever comes up. And that's where the things you've been burying finally start talking. And you don't have to do all three. You can just stop long enough to hear it. Because you can build the practice, you can create the perfect face, you can hit the number, but you will still carry whatever you didn't heal straight into the next level, just in nicer clothes. The glow up was always an inside job, and everything else is just the finishing touch. So on that note, I'm Erica. This is the Empress Unfiltered, and I will see you next week for a conversation that I promise you'll feel in your whole body.